You are about to listen to a free portion of the Young Turks. To podcast the complete show, sign up for membership at tytnetwork.com/membership.
Welcome to the Young Turks. Now for 14 years in a row. It is our 14th anniversary on the Young Turks. That is unbelievable. Go. 14 years of the Young Turks. One Nickelodeon. Okay, so here's the deal. We started as a radio show. We were actually the first original talk show on Sirius Satellite Radio back on February 14th of 2002. And then we started doing online streaming and took the show to video almost exactly 10 years ago. So 4 years just as a radio show, and then some number of years as radio and video. These days, of course, we're only video, although a lot of people still don't know that. On TV, I get introduced as a radio host 90% of the time. Anyways, does radio still exist? So thank you to all of you who've been with us for a long, long time. Some of you all the way from the beginning, which is amazing, amazing, amazing. So we've got another great show for you guys, as we hope we've had for 14 straight years now. And on today's program, we got a lot of drama. A lot of fighting back and forth between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. You're not going to be surprised by that. Of course, by the Republicans as well. Was Justice Scalia murdered? Okay. My sayings have morphed so much, they're now incomprehensible even to me. Okay. As I was doing, I was like, wait, is that Wasikterland? Or what is this? Anyway, that is a theory out there. I will talk about it, whether that is a false pillow operation. We will explain a little bit later in the show. And then Kanye West says, and this is in the second hour, of course, that he's $53 million in debt and begs Mark Zuckerberg for money. No, he's not Zuckerberg. That's why he won't be giving it to him. So many amazing stories. And then we got to get to the Zika virus. It turns out that might not be what's causing the kids with the small heads. It might be something Monsanto did. Drama. Okay. Amazing story. Tons of amazing stories. Let's get to it, okay? So, now, Bernie Sanders versus Hillary Clinton heating up. In the beginning, of course, they both said, well, we're not going to go negative. No, we're running a positive campaign. Nonsense. I knew Hillary Clinton would go negative. No question about it. And she'd go negative the minute she had to. When she had 30, 40, 50-point leads, of course she didn't need to go negative. She was all sunshine and unicorns. Now, Bernie Sanders also said he wouldn't go negative. I didn't believe that either. Okay. Everybody goes negative. It's just a matter of when. Unless they have a giant lead that they never relinquish, and then they get to be like, oh, yeah, I'm just the most positive guy in the world. So now when you see these negative campaigns, and they both got one here, the ads are, it's not like the most negative thing you've ever seen. But my favorite is Hillary's ad because I think it's actually Bernie's ad. I'll explain when we get to it. But first, Bernie Sanders attacks Hillary Clinton.
There are two Democratic visions for regulating Wall Street. One says it's okay to take millions from big banks and then tell them what to do. My plan, break up the big banks, close the tax loopholes, and make them pay their fair share. Then we can expand health care to all and provide universal college education. Will they like me? No. Will they begin to play by the rules if I'm president? You better believe it. I'm Bernie Sanders, and I approve this message.
So he tweaks her there a little bit. There's two competing plans. One takes a lot of money from Wall Street and then tells them what to do. I mean, I would have put it in much harsher terms, but maybe that's as negative as Bernie Sanders can get. And then he mainly focuses on his plan. New York Times fact checks it, says, well, it's technically correct. She's received $3 million in paid speeches from Wall Street. She's also gotten $17 million in contributions. Both those numbers sound low to me based on previous reporting we've had from other sources. But okay, fine. They say, yeah, she took a lot of money. But then they say, but she has been explicit in saying that she would rein in Wall Street. And they say, oh, and by the way, I'm not sure we believe in Bernie Sanders' health care plan. What did that have to do with this ad? God, the mainstream media hates him. Look, they're conflicted on Hillary Clinton. They have a love-hate relationship with Hillary Clinton. With Bernie Sanders, look at the last line of the fact check. Mr. Sanders is yet to say how much his health care for all would cost. They have it in brackets. Health care for all would cost. What did that have anything to do with this? Hey, and that's the New York Times. All right, so that's Bernie going negative. Now, Hillary Clinton got a lot of applause from the pundits for saying that Bernie Sanders is a one-issue candidate. They're like, oh, she got him. Oh, that line of attack is working. No, it's working inside Washington. And she made the mistake of listening to the pundits, which she always listens to. That's the mistake she made in 2008 and continues to make in this campaign. That's why all of a sudden she's lost 50-point leads and got clobbered in New Hampshire. So this time she decided to make an ad around this one-issue candidate. Watch this. I know it's a Hillary Clinton attack against Bernie Sanders, but to me, this is actually does Bernie Sanders a huge favor. Let's watch.
No bank is too big to fail. No executive too powerful to jail.
You got to break up these huge financial institutions. Attacks on Wall Street speculation. The disastrous and illegal behavior on Wall Street. The wealthiest people, the top 1.5%, the CEOs of Wall Street companies, the rich are getting much richer.
I am not a single issue candidate, and I do not believe we live in a single issue country.
What a terrible ad. See, they're not going to pay attention to the writing you have in the middle of the ad. You just showed Bernie Sanders saying, I'm going to come for Wall Street. I'm going to come for Wall Street. I'm not playing around. I'm coming for Wall Street. That's not an ad for Hillary Clinton. That's an ad for Bernie Sanders. Oh, these pundits, they have no idea what they're doing. The Washington establishment, they're flummoxed. They're like, oh, we got him. He's against Wall Street. We should run that ad. I've been saying this for how many years now? And I'm not making it up because I agree with it. It's my policy preference. I'm saying it based on pollings and results. Dave Bratt beat Eric Cantor, unprecedented, beat the sitting House Majority Leader in a primary race by running against the banks on the Republican side. Running against the banks on Wall Street polls so well. And Hillary Clinton just did an ad for handing the top issue to Bernie Sanders. They don't know what they're doing. This campaign is a disaster, and the establishment can't correct itself because it doesn't realize the country can't stand them anymore. It does not compute for them. So is she in a world of trouble because she runs a campaign that is centered around the establishment? Hell yeah. You want to keep running ads like that? All you're going to do is drive up Bernie Sanders' numbers. And by the way, as usual, I'll make a prediction for you guys. That ad will be off the air very soon. They will run it for a little while, then they'll poll it, because that's what they do. That's what they spend a lot of money on. And they'll come back and realize, oh, no, we made it more popular. Get the ad off there. Get the ad off there. That's what's going to happen. Okay, now, let's go to point number 2. We just had a major layoff in Indianapolis at the end of last week. It's for Carrier air conditioner in Indianapolis, and hence the title. And we have video of it. I'm going to show you the video, and after the video, I'm going to give you facts about the parent company for Carrier air conditioner. It's called United Technologies. And now you're going to see in the video here the person in charge is telling everybody, "Hey, pipe down. We had to do this." We'll find out after the video if they really did have to do this. But first, watch the anger rise in that crowd.
The best way to stay competitive and protect the business for long term is to move production from our facility in Indianapolis to Monterrey, Mexico. Where we have existing carrier facilities. Listen, I've got information that's important to share as a part of the transition. If we could go ahead. If you don't want to hear it, other people do. So let's quiet down. Thank you very much. I want to be clear. This is strictly a business decision. Once again, let's please get more information to share. We will sit down with officials from the union in the coming days.
How long it takes people to start tearing shit?
Throughout the transition, we must remain committed manufacturing the same high-quality products that we always do.
Yeah, fuck you.
In case you didn't hear, there was a voice saying, how long will it take before people start tearing this shit up? And then another guy said, yeah, fuck you. So that crowd, by the way, of 1,400 employees that just got laid off right there. Now, the slight appeasement they had was, you're not laid off yet. We're going to go through a little bit into 2017, and then all your jobs will be gone. They'll be off to Mexico. So don't start tearing shit up yet, okay? And that crowd was so representative. You see the whites, blacks, males, females. That right there was America that just got laid off. So some people are theorizing this might help Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump. Of course it will. Of course it will. We've had this system that's crushing the average American for all this time. And these guys are saying that's enough of that. Now, they have two totally different ideas on how to fix that. But the establishment has given us that. So obviously people are pissed. And they're more pissed than I am. Because, look, I'm too big a lib, right? I think, well, people in Mexico need a job too. Now, no, Americans don't want to hear that. Okay, and I know that corporations will do everything they can to squeeze every extra dollar. In fact, they're legally obligated to do that. It's their fiduciary responsibility to do that. But maybe we should have a government that checks them rather than aids and abets them. So to me, that's the big difference. But people aren't even going to be anywhere near me. They're going to be way to the left of me, and some of them mistakenly way to the right of me with things that are going to actually head further in this direction. But now, that's the central question for me, and I think for a lot of people who are paying attention to this, which is, did they really have to do this? Well, let's go to the parent company facts here. Zach Carter and Ryan Grimm with a great article on Huffington Post. The past few years have been very good for United Technologies. The contractor does billions of dollars a year in business with the federal government. Wow, lots of business. But hey, that doesn't mean they're making a profit. We'll get to that in a second. Can the government do something? Well, they do have billions of dollars of contracts with the government. That gives you some leverage. So let's see how the executives are doing. CEO Gregory Hayes pulled out nearly $10 million in 2014 and over $20 million the year before. So it appears they have some room for salary for some of the employees. Again, I'm more moderate than I think most of our audience is. I think, hey, if you're doing a great job as a CEO and it's justifiable, I get it, right? But if you're firing people while you're taking in that money, well, then that's a little bit more questionable. Okay, and I think most Americans would agree with that. But we haven't gone anywhere near to the worst part yet. On Thursday, the company reported $7.6 billion in profits, not revenue, profits, up from $6.2 billion the year before and $5.7 billion the year before that. So when they say, this Carrier International, it's part of Carrier Air Conditioning, is part of United Technologies, and United Technologies, we just had, our arms twisted by the markets, we had to do this move. No, you didn't. You made a giant amount of money. You didn't have to make the move. Now, what we can't get through the heads of the media, really, because the Republicans get it. They know what's going on. This is all a game played on you guys, right? They say, well, look, man, corporations need all these tax cuts, they need all these breaks, and if you give all that stuff to them, then they will do the right thing. No, there's no doing the right thing with a corporation. Again, I think I'm enormously moderate here. Corporations aren't evil. They're not human beings. They don't have the capacity for morality. We're having an absurd conversation in this country. They are amoral. They have no morality. They are obligated, because of the way that we have set up the system, to crush everything in their path to make that extra cent. Workers in Indianapolis, why would they care? They're robots. Corporations are legal fictions that are designed and built to be steamrollers. We built them, but now they're crushing us. Okay, now to give you a sense of how out of control this is, in October, United Technologies even expanded its stock buyback program to $12 billion. Spending the company's money to purchase its own stock elevates the value of its share prices. United Technologies was so flush with cash that it could burn money to boost return for its investors. So let me explain that for you guys not overly familiar with exactly how that works. There's two parts of this. One is, when you're buying back shares of your own company, that means you have so much money you literally don't know what to do with it. Now, normally in how capitalism is supposed to work, if it's not rigged, is you're supposed to take the money and then invest it into the business. Maybe have new factories, new plants, hire more workers, whether they're in Mexico or the U.S., right? Here, they're not even doing that. They don't know what to do with all the money they have. But they're still firing American workers. Now, the second part of why they do the buyback program is it inflates the price of the stock. Well, who owns a lot of the stock? The executives. So they're using the money, instead of using it for little extra wages in America or the same wages in America, so you could actually keep those people hired instead of moving their jobs to Mexico. No, they're not using it for that. They're using it to pump up the share price of the stocks they own to make even more money in compensation, but only for the executives. Okay. And also the shareholders, of course. All right. Now, I want to repeat what that administrator was saying there as he was trying to get the masses to understand the reasons for this. He said, please quiet down. This was an extremely difficult decision. It doesn't really appear so. It seems like there was a lot of ways you could have gone with that decision, and you guys decided, we're making record profits, we don't know what to do with it. Screw it, let's fire him anyway. Because you know why? We can make an extra couple of bucks if we move it to Mexico. Now, I believe our representatives are supposed to look out for us. They're not supposed to listen to liberals like me going, hey, you know what, they need jobs in Mexico too. That's not a popular position in America. I'm admitting it to you, right? They're supposed to go, no, hell no. We got to do what we got to do to make sure those jobs are here. Here's one thing you could do. A lot of the money they make is from the government. You can say, I will give you government contracts to the tune of billions of dollars like you're getting now, as long as you hire American workers. Wow, that's so hard. That's not hard at all. They just choose not to do that. And here again, Huffington Post explains. For decades, Congress has listened to corporate lobbyists who told our representatives that if they could just cut this one tax rate or just ease this one regulation, there would be a renaissance of prosperity. The renaissance has happened for the rich. Everyone else has been left behind. So all those promises have trickled down. It's not trickling down to you. They don't care. Who thinks that an amoral machine built for maximizing profits would care about you? Who would be stupid enough to think that? Well, all of Washington pretends that that's the case. Now we have Senator Joe Donnelly. He's from Indiana. He's a Democrat. He's supposed to be protecting the people. Democrats are more progressive. He says, oh, golly gee, he got tricked by this whole thing. He says, these same folks, talking about the company, said if we put in tax extenders, things like bonus depreciation, research credit, the Export-Import Bank, that things would be better and that they could protect jobs. He said, I sat here and fought for Export-Import Bank because these folks came in here and said this will help American jobs stay in America. Senator Donnelly, I got to be honest with you. You're either dishonest or stupid. And probably stupid, to be honest, okay? And I'm not putting it just on Joe Donnelly. I'm putting it on all of them, okay? These guys come in here, and I've railed against the Export-Import Bank. Now here's a position. I've been a liberal, a moderate, and now I'm going to be conservative on this issue, all in one story. Because it depends. It depends on what you're talking about. Use your mind. Use your judgment. In this case, the Republicans argued against the Export-Import Bank. I defended them. It's a rare situation where the Republicans were right, okay, and the Democrats were more pro-corporate position and anti-American position. And so the Democrats came in and said, oh, yeah, the Export-Import Bank. And it's complicated as to how that works. Oh, that's going to help American workers. No, it's not. It's going to help the corporations. And you knew that. And if you don't know that, you're dumb. And it's possible these guys are paid to be dumb. Like, oh, look at all these corporate donations I got. And they tell me it's for the help of the American workers and it's going to trickle on their heads. Oh, it didn't. Oh, golly gee, I got fooled again. I bet Joe Donnelly gets fooled again. It's funny how they keep getting fooled, right? So this isn't for any of them. Now, finally, explaining how this company happened to fool all these politicians in the first place. Zach Carter and Ryan Grimm explain again. It contributes, the company does, millions of dollars a year to well over 100 nonprofits, from the centrist Brookings Institution think tank to partisan groups including Democratic Governors Association and the Republican Governors Association, to anti-tax organizations and straight-up corporate lobbying front groups. These are called nonprofits as if they're charities. None of them are charities. These think tanks, you think anybody's thinking at them? No, whether they're so-called progressive think tanks or conservative think tanks. They're funded by corporations to do propaganda. To say, oh, yeah, corporations are wonderful. Oh, yeah, they're going to trickle down that profit to you any second now. And then the senators and the congressmen take, oh, well, the think tank told me this. What could I do, golly gee? And then they poured money into your campaigns. They poured money into lobbying so that they could get all the tax breaks, all the deregulation. And then while they ship your job to another country, the representatives, shh, don't say a word. What happened? I thought that this was all to create American jobs. It turns out it's doing the exact opposite. So I understand why the corporations do it. I understand that, yes, it helps some people in other countries. But our representatives are supposed to represent us, not these corporations. But that's not how the system is today. It's rigged. It's crony capitalism. We don't have free and fair elections anymore. And almost all of our politicians have been bought by multinational corporations. If you don't fix it, then don't be surprised when something like this happens. You got to fix the core of the problem. Don't let the corporations, the robots we created, steamroll us and buy off our government. Get the money out of politics. How much clearer does it have to be? We think the way to do that is wolf-pack.com. Every generation of Americans has gotten an amendment passed. You're supposed to do that. George Washington said the most important thing we have is amendments so that you can continue to fix this Constitution as we go along, because you're going to need to do that. Well, we need to do it right now. We need an amendment so that these guys cannot buy our representatives anymore. Wolf-pack.com. Join the fight. Otherwise, one day, you're going to be in that video. Okay. Now, one more about the campaign for this segment. In 1994, Bill Clinton wanted to pass a crime legislation, and it was 3 strikes bill. So if you have 3 felonies, you get a life sentence. Hillary Clinton was the first lady and aggressively lobbied for it. She gave a speech in 94 defending this piece of legislation. Now, she had many different defenses to it, and some of it were good parts of the bill, including community policing. And here in this clip, she's going to be talking about gangs, not just all kids, not just black kids. But when they talk about super predators, they almost always meant young African-American kids. And so here is Hillary Clinton talking about what should be done with them.
Not just gangs of kids anymore. They are often the kinds of kids that are called super predators. No conscience, no empathy. We can talk about why they ended up that way, but first we have to bring them to heel.
Bring them to heel. Very rarely was the term super predator ever used in reference to white kids. Perhaps sometimes in reference to the Columbine kids, but almost always when talking about black kids in inner cities who are in gangs. So I'm giving you the full context. It wasn't just that she was talking about super predators, and it wasn't just regular old kids walking down the street. But was it racially used, that term? Yes, it most certainly was. It was used over and over by Republicans, adopted by the Clintons to scare everybody. Oh, watch out for the super predators. They have no conscience. They have no empathy. We got to bring them to heel. So is that quote accurate? Hell yes, it's accurate. That's why we went and got the video for you guys. So I remember when we first ran the story based on a story by Michelle Alexander, who was one of the leading African-American scholars in this country. People couldn't believe the quote. Well, here she is saying it. And if it wasn't clear enough, here it is again and again.
Not just gangs of kids anymore. They are often the kinds of kids that are called super predators. No conscience, no empathy. We can talk about why they ended up that way, but first we have to bring them to heel. Not just gangs of kids anymore. They are often the kinds of kids that are called super predators. No conscience, no empathy. We can talk about why they ended up that way, but first we have to bring them to heel.
Bring them to heel. And by the way, let's be clear. Columbine, of course, happened after 94. So when they were talking about this, it was almost completely used for African-American kids. If you think this is the family that was so great to African-Americans, that's one opinion, but you just heard her yourself. Your call. Young Turks. All right, back on the Young Turks. Casper's with us. She's got some great stories for you guys. Let me read tweets as I normally do here. Austin Smith says, don't worry, Cenk. You have better content than either Limbo or Hannity. What is Hannity? Limbo or Hannity. And then the last longer, too. Hashtag no commercials. Hashtag no 15-minute breaks. We had a TriCaster issue earlier in the day. That's why he's trying to buck me up, which I appreciate, Austin. And if you are a member, there are no commercials at all. Nothing but content. So tytnetwork.com/join. Ruth Iverson says, it would serve Republicans right if they delay the nomination until we have Bernie as POTUS. They would be sorry then. Well, I suppose so. And how hard would they fight every one of his nominees? And it goes on and on. It never ends. Joe Oliver, why would the Obama administration assassinate Scalia without a Senate majority to replace him? Some people are stupid. Okay. Very good point. No more donations. Writes in, Scalia was on a hunting trip. Do we know if Dick Cheney was anywhere around? That's really funny. Nice job. And finally, No Way writes in, the religious see women as nothing more than incubators for babies, which unfortunately is fairly true. The fundamentalists do, at least. And today's our 14th anniversary of the Young Turks. So we have gone to member number 1, Robert Freeman, and member number 2, Daryl Kite.
Nice.
So Robert, or Bob and Daryl, you guys are phenomenal. Thank you for being with us from the beginning. I believe they both signed up in 2005.
That's insane.
So that is now over 10 years that they've been with the Young Turks?
Yes. And for everyone who's watching the live stream, we're offering a free post-game show today, so you get a sense of what we talk about during the post-game, what it's all about. It's going to start at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time, so definitely check it out. And you should definitely join as members because it helps the show, helps keep us independent, helps us do our thing.
Right. Today, the post-game is, as you would know, tytnetwork.com/live, okay, since it's free. And I'm going to explain my lunch with Vince Vaughn.
Oh, no.
That was from today.
Was it a real lunch with Vince Vaughn, or was Vince Vaughn in the same restaurant as you, sitting like across from the restaurant?
Only one way to find out.
All right, okay.
All right.
All right, let's do it. A Democratic lawmaker in Kentucky has sponsored a bill that would require men to get a note from their wives should they seek a prescription for Viagra. Now, it seems a little curious that a Democratic lawmaker would do something that usually a Republican lawmaker will do, but just hold tight and figure out what it is that she's trying to get across. Now, the bill is sponsored by Representative Mary Lou Marzian, a Kentucky Democrat who is a nurse. She told the Courier-Journal newspaper that the legislation is aimed at protecting the health of Kentucky's men. She wants to make sure they understand the potentially dangerous side effects of erectile dysfunction drugs. The bill also would require that doctors prescribe a drug for erectile dysfunction only to a man who is currently married and require a man to make a sworn statement with his hand on the Bible that he will only use a prescription or the prescription for a drug for erectile dysfunction when having sexual relations with his current spouse. Now, the reason why she's doing this is because, like many other red states, Kentucky is trying to pass more restrictive abortion laws, and they want to make it even more difficult for women to access a safe abortion. So since they're using their religion to support those laws, and since they're saying that they're just trying to keep women safe, this lawmaker is doing the same thing, but only to men requiring or wanting Viagra.
So I'm reading the article, and I didn't know what she was up to because they don't really say it until you get way down in the piece, right? And I'm like, man, this is crazy, right? I'm like, but it was believable. It's believable because they get so deep into your private life, and they want to run your life based on the Bible, not based on logic or reason, etc.
Right.
And so, and then I was like, but there's something wrong here because these kind of religious restrictions never apply to men. It's almost always applies to women. I'm like, something doesn't compute here. And I went back up to the top, and it said she was a Democrat. I was like, man, are they this religious in Kentucky even for the Democrats, right? And then I went and read the rest of the article. I was like, oh, okay, now it makes sense. She's trying to make a point. Hey, if you don't want me all up in your life, then don't get up all in my life, okay? So do you believe in liberty or don't you believe in liberty? And do you believe we should be ruled by the Bible, or do you not believe we should be ruled by the Bible? If you think we should be ruled by the Bible, then let me see your hand on that Bible before I give you the Viagra.
I just love that she's calling their bluff when it comes to this disingenuous notion that they're trying to keep women safe, right? Because when you're outlawing abortion or when you're restricting it, what you're really doing is creating an unsafe environment for women who end up getting pregnant. A lot of women will take matters into their own hands. And so she's trying to point that out, and she's also trying to point out a double standard. Here's another thing she's doing, okay? She said she also plans to file a bill requiring potential gun buyers to obtain counseling 24 hours in advance from victims of gun violence before the purchase. Now, the reason why she's doing that is because it's a response to Kentucky trying to get women to have a 24-hour waiting period prior to getting that abortion. So they'd have to go see a doctor, get counseled. The doctor would give them all the reasons why they shouldn't have an abortion, and then they wait 24 hours before they can come back and actually have the procedure.
Yeah. No, I love this. And again, if you're pro-life, you should have no problems making sure that the person who's buying a weapon knows the consequences of that weapon, because weapons take people's lives. They don't always, but they do sometimes. Let's be better safe than sorry, right? What? Oh, right, you don't care about life. You're not pro-life at all. And you're not even pro-Bible. You just want to make sure that there are restrictions on women. And pro-liberty. You're not at all pro-liberty. You're not for freedom. You're for a giant government that intrudes in the personal lives of women so that you can control them. So let's keep it real. Because the minute we touch Viagra, you get awfully sensitive. No pun intended. Okay. And when you talk about guns, and by the way, also another representation of their, penis, like, hey, I get to use Viagra with whoever I want outside of marriage. Don't worry about the freaking Bible. Not interested in the Bible. I'll do it with whatever I want, with my liberty and my Viagra and my guns.
Oh, my goodness.
Right?
Oh, my goodness.
Okay. But women, no, I'm going to tell you what to do with your bodies.
Right.
Because that's about the Bible.
All right, let's move on to something that infuriates me. Time Warner Cable is attempting to purchase a 25% stake in Hulu. Now, why are they trying to do that? It turns out that they're very concerned about so-called cord cutters who are no longer paying for cable and receiving all of their entertainment through digital media. Well, what they want to do is prevent Hulu from allowing people to watch episodes right after they air on television. Let me give you the details. The Wall Street Journal reports the company is considering buying a 25% stake in Hulu, the streaming service best known for making new episodes of many TV shows available the day after they air. People familiar with the discussion say Time Warner wants episodes from current television seasons off the service to prevent more customers from leaving. So seasons of shows currently on the air wouldn't be available until after the season finale airs. In other words, fans could binge watch the first season of Empire because it already aired, but would have to wait to watch new episodes until after the entire second season wraps. Time Warner Cable is one of the worst companies. I don't know. Am I allowed to say that? Because I can't
You're allowed
stand.
to say whatever you want.
I cannot stand Time Warner Cable. Here's a little advice, okay? If you notice that people are cutting the cord, how about you try to adapt to the ever-changing landscape of media instead of trying to push people to fit your model? That's the reason why people are cutting the cord to begin with.
Okay, I'm going to take a slightly different approach here. This is businessman Cenk. Okay, so as a businessman, let me say a couple of things. One, I find Time Warner's actions in trying to buy 25% of Hulu very rational, because that's them adapting, right? They're saying we're getting our ass kicked, and all people are watching these shows online, so let me go buy. If I can't beat them, I should join them. Let me go buy 25% of Hulu.
No. They're not joining anyone. What they're doing is they're trying to buy out digital media so digital media plays by their rules. That's not joining them.
Well, I mean, look, it's buying a part of a successful company that's in the digital world. If I was those old companies, I'd be desperate to buy a portion of the new digital media companies. So I actually think it's a smart move on their part. Now, the second part of it is, should they take the shows off of Hulu, quicker than or not put them on as quick as they do today, right? Well, look, that's a very interesting business question, right? Because they make so much more money from TV, even if the viewers are there or not there, because of the way that it's structured. So if you're running one of those companies, you're going to say, I don't know. I mean, we got this cash cow called TV. I want it to last as long as I can. But the slower I am to move over to the digital side, the more I'm going to get my ass kicked in the future. So that's a tough balancing act. And I don't know, if I'm being honest, if I was running their company, I don't know where I would have drawn that line. Because they're making so much money from TV as they're bleeding so much audience from TV.
Right.
So that's a tough balancing act.
Well, I think they're bleeding audience from TV because of lack of customer service. Look, I unfortunately live in an apartment, and there's a monopoly as a result of that. So I'm forced to buy Time Warner Internet. I'm a cord cutter, so I don't have Time Warner cable.
Right. Now, I hear you, but, and I don't know which, so Time Warner split up. So there's now Time Warner Inc. and Time Warner Cable. I think Time Warner Cable does the Internet as well. So that's a different company. Time Warner Inc. is the one trying to buy a stake in Hulu. Okay. And Time Warner Inc. is the one with all the shows, and it has Warner Brothers, and it has all the cable channels.
So prior to them splitting up like that, I had Time Warner Cable. And one of the reasons why I was a cord cutter is because there are no a la carte options, right? You have to buy a bunch of channels that you have no interest in watching. So why don't you change that model up a little bit, right? There are ways to adapt. There are ways that you can do it instead of trying to buy out or buy major portions of media companies, digital media companies, and control the way they're doing things. Do you see what I'm saying?
I know, I do. And if Time Warner had decided like, okay, oh great, we're going to buy 100% of Hulu and then kill it. Okay, well, we're done with that. Now, anyway, everybody back to TV. Then I'd be 1,000% on your side. But I don't think that's what they're doing here. I think it's a little bit more complicated than that. And they are adrift, and they're trying to figure out how to adjust. I mean, we covered this during our live coverage of the Republican debates over the weekend. After CBS showed the debates, they had an infomercial on afterwards. That was the music of your life, songs from the 1940s and 1950s. So that's how old the TV audience is. Half of the stuff was in black and white. Then they had an infomercial for Bob Hope and with clips from him from World War II. Okay, that's how old the TV audience is. But still, a majority of their money is in TV because of all the ads that they serve. So they're going to have to build that bridge. And as they're building the bridge to digital media, there's going to be a lot of casualties. So, and as you see that story, Anna, you're not the only one reacting that way. There's a lot of people who are full of anger at those old TV companies, whether it's the cable side, the cable service provider side, or the cable network side, which is now Time Warner Inc., et cetera. Now, at the same time, HBO is part of Time Warner, and they make great shows that we all love, right?
Yep.
And so there's nothing easy here. There's no easy answers. But one thing's for sure, TV is falling. I mean, they hit the iceberg, and it's capsized. So as they're starting to arrange where the chairs are on the deck, that part is irrelevant.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on. The New York Times published a disturbing video featuring a charter school teacher in New York berating one of her first grade students. Take a look.
That's the one you cut or you split. So count it again, making sure you're counting correctly. Count. Go to the calm down chair and sit. There's nothing that infuriates me more than when you don't do what's on your paper. Somebody come up and show me how she should have counted to get her answer that was 1 and a split. Show my friends and teach them.
1 and a split.
Thank you. Do not go back to your seat and show me one thing and then don't do it here. You're confusing everybody. Very upset and very disappointed.
Jesus.
Wow. Okay, so that was Charlotte Dial, and she's part of the so-called Success Academy. It's a network of high-performing schools in the New York area. Again, they're charter schools, so they're different from public schools. But that got her a little bit of a punishment. She got a suspension.
Reprimand.
She got reprimanded, right. Let me give you the details. Now, let's go to graphic number 13, please. Despite the school's guidelines, which included mandates to refrain from yelling at students, using sarcastic tones, or giving consequences intended to shame children, Dial is back in the classroom after a brief week-long suspension.
Yeah. Okay. So, look, teaching's not easy, and I want to give them wide leeway. And I get a little frustrated that the public school my kid goes to, my daughter's not old enough yet, but my son is a little soft on them. I'm like, all the numbers are backwards. Let's fix those up. Right? So I get that the teacher being demanding, right? And I want to push the kids. And I think this way of teaching is really disconcerting, but might work. And I'm not saying overall, but I'm saying in terms of, will they get the numbers right, right? If you treat them with this amount of stress, they might also crack under that pressure.
Yes.
They're first graders, right? But that doesn't make it right overall. I mean, you might get good, quote unquote results that you can show administrators or that you can show state, contractors, if there's a charter school, et cetera. But we also care about other things, especially when they're first graders.
Yeah,
right?
They're 6 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, first graders are 6. Look, I had experiences like that, not at a public school, but I did go to Armenian school on Saturdays growing up, and you do come across teachers that are extremely strict, that do, embarrass you in front of the other students like that. And you know what it did to me? It made me not want to go. It made me not want to teach. Learn. Sorry about that. It made me not want to go back or learn anything. It discouraged me. It deterred me. And you don't want to do that to students, right? The worst thing is going through all the awkward phases of grade school, and then on top of that, having someone that you're supposed to trust and feel comfortable going to humiliating you in front of your classmates.
Yeah, everybody reacts differently. First of all, I went to Turkish school for one day, and then my teacher kicked me out and never let me back in. Okay, which I was thrilled with. I was like, oh, thanks God. Okay, but in real school, I remember my first grade teacher saying that these 3 kids already knew how to read and they were better than us. Okay, and man, that made me mad. As a little 6-year-old, I was like, first of all, bitch, it's your job to teach me how to read. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay, you get to be lazy with these 3 because they already know how to read. Congratulations to them, right? Okay. But for me, it got my competitive dander up even at the age of 6.
Yes.
And I was like, I thought, those 3, I'm coming for you.
Yes.
Okay.
I had that experience too, and that was in public school. I remember, I'll never forget, David Chu, the best student, ended up being a scientist, super smart, top of the class. My entire grade school experience in elementary, I was trying to do better than him, right? I think that's healthy, that's okay. But having that sarcastic tone and berating a student like that is not a good idea.
Yeah. So now that brings us to the larger issue here, which is, look, they're 6-year-olds. If my kid's in that class, I'm pissed. You don't talk to my kid like that. That's crazy. I don't want you to coddle him by any stretch of the imagination. And I want you to be demanding. But I don't want you to rip up his paper and shame him in front of everybody and yell at him. And now, look, they say this school says, no, it's a one-time thing. And maybe she was having a bad day. They keep calling her a model teacher, right? But there's a reason why the assistant teacher taped it. She taped it because she said she saw it happening over and over and over again, and she couldn't take it anymore. And that was not the only story coming out of this school. It is a countless number of stories of countless number of teachers doing it.
Yes.
And the person in charge seems so dismissive, like, oh, whatever. Stuff happens. Kids cry. What's the big deal? If I had got that reaction as a parent after I saw that video of my kids in that class, I'd be furious.
Yes, and you're right. A number of teachers, former teachers from this network of schools did speak to the New York Times. One of them was Jessica Reed Slawersky, and she worked at the Success Academy in Harlem 1 and Success Academy in Harlem 2 from 2008 to 2011, first as a teacher and then as an assistant principal. She said that starting in the 3rd grade, when children begin taking state exams, embarrassing or belittling children for the work seen as slipshod was a regular occurrence and in some cases encouraged by the network leaders. It's this culture of, if you've made them cry, you've succeeded in getting your point across.
No, there's no question it's pervasive throughout these schools based on the New York Times reporting on this based on the videos, based on all the testimony from people who've worked there. So the fact that they seem to have a callous reaction to it, like whatever, kids cry, just go on with your life. It's almost like they're yelling at the parents in the same way that they yelled at the teachers.
That's so true.
I mean, at the students. So no, we can't have it. There's being tough, and then there's being ridiculous. And so that's what, this is clearly crossed the line.
All right. Let's take a quick break. And when we come back, crazy video featuring a guy trying to steal sneakers. Revenge caught up with him.
Yeah, in a big way.